Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Andrews, the Vice President of Business Development for Kura Biotech. Welcome back to part 2 of our discussion on beta-glucuronidase enzymes, from natives to room temperature recombinants. If you missed yesterday, I'm going to do a quick catch-up, and then we'll get into some cool advances that have been happening over the past 4 or 5 years. So today, we'll catch up with what Kura is, who Kura is, natives, and then we'll dive into what are recombinants, what's Kura Biotech's unique approach to making recombinants, Finden's recombinant BG Turbo, and then we'll finish it with a teaser to come back tomorrow. So I joined Kura officially 2 years ago, but have been working with these guys for 3 or 4 years before that. When they presented the opportunity to be the Vice President of Business Development, I was aware of the characteristics they live by. I never questioned if I would like the culture. I knew that we had shared values, like unapologetic standards, where we demand to get it right for ourselves and for our customers. The limitless spirit is continuously revealed by product and process improvement. We always want to deliver the very, very best, and we never settle for, quote, just good enough. Human connections are both internal and external at Kura Biotech. Employees interacting with employees, employees with customers, partners, and the community. And that ties directly to our Give Back program, where we strive to make the community as a whole stronger. Those core values are the foundations for our mission. They keep us on track to deliver enzymes that make drug analysis simple, fast, and precise. Because we know drug testing is never routine. Well, you've seen Kura Biotech in the agenda. You've heard me talk about Kura Biotech. What is this Finden Kura in the top right corner? Well, the company has 3 areas of expertise: genetics, proteomics, and toxicology. Genetics and proteomics are supported by brands named Avenir and Blicka. Finden is the brand and the group of people at Kura dedicated to the toxicology arena. We're present in more than 15 countries, providing products to the world's largest laboratories and testing approximately 2 million samples every month. I'm very proud to say we are the biggest beta-glucuronidase producer in the world. Okay, let's get into the topic. Yesterday, we talked about natives, those enzyme preparations from animal tissues like snails or limpets, or in the case of BG100, red abalone. The crude extracts on the left side, we learned had very low efficiency, terrible purity, and super long incubation times. Through genetic selection and proprietary purification processes, Kura introduced BG100, which made significant improvements, especially in those incubation times. Now let's advance into recombinant enzymes. Before we get into what is a recombinant, I think it's important for people to understand that Kura Biotech has a unique strategy. We are a biotech company. Our expertise happens to be in producing enzymes for analytical purposes. And over the past 7 years, we've become the premier enzyme supplier for toxicology laboratories around the world. This success has stemmed from our unique approach for developing molecules. We have an R&D team based in the south of Chile that has led successful expeditions to volcanoes and glaciers, collecting samples from organisms that survive in unimaginable conditions. Those samples are put into our proprietary genetic database. The strategy is those enzymes that work in those conditions must be resilient. And we want to translate those characteristics into benefits for laboratory operations, the perfect fusion of science and nature. So what is a recombinant? The basic process has been around for decades. I was at Glaxo back in the early 90s, and I recall following this same basic path to make protein ligands for a cell binding assay. At the highest level, we take our gene of interest, splice it into some expression vector, put it in a cell line that expresses the gene, pick a clone, purify it, and then we're ready for use. All of this represents months and sometimes years of wet lab work to produce a product, especially when that product must meet Finden's stringent requirements. On the previous slide, you heard about Kura creating a proprietary genetic database. This is a crucial first step of our process and a critical part of our strategy. When it comes to expression systems, again, there's choices. We've got mammalian, insect, or bacterial cell lines. So before we get to the first arrow in the cartoon, there's many choices to be considered. It takes a limitless spirit to examine all of the potential combinations. The next part that I believe separates ordinary from extraordinary is clone selection. Remember those unapologetic standards? I believe this is a crucial step which separates Kura Biotech from the rest of the world. Our approach to cloning and screening is very complex, demanding, but it has to be in order to achieve the end results that our mission demands. When we are fortunate enough to find that clone, it's still subject to rigorous qualifications, purification, and scale up to production batch sizes. That entire process is overseen by a QC department that's relentless to ensure quality to our customers. Fortunately, we have the team, the tools, and the dedication to succeed. So what would you expect to get when you have this recombinant? In the case of beta-glucuronidases, we expect to have very high hydrolysis efficiency, purity, elimination of secondary molecules, low protein concentrations, and incubation times between 30 and 60 minutes. And we also expect to improve stability. Now, let me introduce you to BG Turbo, Finden's entry into the recombinant beta-glucuronidases. We were able to deliver a molecule that has the highest activity per milligram of protein available on the market today. 98% purity, and in most cases, our optimized protocols are 5 to 15 minutes. Now, let me make a point about stability. Natives have a finite number of days from the day they're prepped to the expiration. Recombinants, by definition, do much better because they are cleaner products. What we are happy to give laboratories with BG Turbo is more than 1 year from the manufacture date to the expiration, as well as the assurance they can open a bottle and use it until it expires. We are also able to provide some comfort knowing that if the enzyme is accidentally left on the bench, it will be okay for 14 days at room temperature. Dramatic improvements in where we started from grinding up abalones and snails. All right, let's look at some BG Turbo data. Here's a comparison to BG 100, examining the time to recovery of coating. Between 8 and 10 minutes, BG Turbo is over that 80% mark. And we can see BG 100 has another 20 minutes to go. What about other analytes? Here's some data on a group of OPs and THC where we can see everything is nearly complete within 10 minutes. When we were examining the benzos, we saw something very interesting. They all reached completion almost immediately. Continuing to investigate, we found benzos could be done in as little as 5 minutes and basically at room temperature. That information, plus our mission, encourage us to ask, can we make it better? We already have this enzyme. It's extremely clean, super fast, phenomenal stability, and we're getting 85% recovery in 10-minute methods. What could we do better? Well, we're still using a classic approach to enzyme hydrolysis. Each product comes with a supplemental buffer to pH the samples, and we have to apply heat to make it to the end. So now we're at the teaser. You need to come back tomorrow to check out Hydrolysis Evolution Part 3, where we introduce B1. It's still fast and clean, but now we're operating at room temperature. We have no longer requiring a supplemental buffer. And we also have some data to talk about what the future holds for urine drug testing labs post-pandemic. So again, follow us on your favorite social media, and you may contact us directly at curabiotech.com, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach me at j.andrews@curabiotech. That's j.andrews@curabiotech.com. Thanks, and see you tomorrow.